President Trump just had a disastrous press conference today in the Oval Office, White House, where he just signed an executive order mandating the death penalty for murderers in D.C. He joked around that he is taking back Ilhan Omar to Somalia because he spoke to the leader of Somalia, and soon or later Ilhan Omar will be back to Somalia. Multiple U.S. attorneys have been ordered to draft plans to investigate an organization funded by George Soros. And this comes after the attack that was made on the ICE facility. You remember recently that attack, and they're saying it's the leftists are the one responsible for that attack, and they are using a certain app to locate, to identify, to find all the ICE facilities, tell to them. And this is all about domestic terrorists. Today, FBI just announced that a domestic terrorist sentenced to more than 19 years in prison. And this is all about putting down domestic terrorism. Those who are banning schools, banning universities, terrifying people, doing a lot of sorts of things. Now the president is up to it to stop this. Now let's begin with this clip from the president himself, where he says in the Oval Office right now today that he spoke to the leader of Somalia and suggested he take back Ilhan Omar to Somalia, and the Somalia leader said, no, we don't want her. Really, the whole room broke into laughter. Let's have the clip.
Yeah, please. Yeah, please.
Jasmine Crockett recently.
Jasmine Crockett. Remember what I said? Is she a relation to the late, great Davy Crockett? I don't think so. Jasmine Crockett, let me tell you, before you even ask, she's a very low IQ person. I mean, if we ever had to pass an aptitude test, that's the one should take one, because she shouldn't even be in the crowd. So I have no idea what you're going to, but I don't think we should waste our time. This is a low IQ person who I can't even believe is a congressperson. Between her and Ilhan Omar and the group. You know, I met the head of Somalia. Did you know that? And I suggested that maybe he'd like to take her back, and he didn't want her. He said, "I don't want her." Okay, what else? Go ahead. You want? Let's hear what Crockett said. Go ahead.
She compared ICE raids to slave patrol. I want to ask you.
To slave?
To slave patrol. I want to ask you if you think that there should be consequences for members of Congress who make these types of comparisons or use this as a
well, I think she's gone over the line, and I think a lot of the people. Look, the Democrats have become radical left lunatics. They have policies that nobody's going to buy, and you know, I see what's going on in New York. We're going to have perhaps a communist mayor, because it's split up. You know, if the people would get together and have one candidate, they'd have, I think, a pretty good chance. But it looks like maybe they're not going to do that. But we're going to end up with a communist mayor. It's not even believable, my beautiful New York. When I left New York to become president, it was a great place. But it was the beginning of bad things, because we had de Blasio had just started as mayor, and I said, this guy's this guy's a real nut job. Went to Harvard to teach management. Can you believe it? He went to Harvard to teach city management, along with the mayor of Chicago, who went to Harvard to teach. The two of them are teaching how to manage a city manage it into hell, is what they do. But that was the beginning, and now we're going to go a step further. Now we're going with the communists. Can I be honest? I think it's the greatest thing to ever happen to the Republican Party. I really do. I think if a communist takes over New York City, I think that's a gift to the Republican Party. It's sad for New York, but it's a gift. And New York will recover, because, you know, sometimes you need a shock like that to straighten you out. But it's politically, it's probably a very good thing.
I heard of Jasmine Crockett. Okay, after that, the president himself talking about Ilhan Omar. Then Ilhan Omar came up on his social and said, from denying Somalia had a president to making up a story. President Trump is a lying buffoon. Now next from that one, this one, President Trump just signed an executive order mandating the death penalty for murderers in D.C. Trump is making D.C. a model for the rest of the country. Washington, D.C. will serve as a beacon, Trump said. The capital punishment in the Capitol. Let's have the clip.
to fully implement the death penalty here in Washington, D.C., where the evidence and facts of a case indicate that the death penalty should be used.
Okay? Everybody understand? Death penalty in Washington. You kill somebody, or if you kill a police officer, law enforcement officer, death penalty. And hopefully there won't be that. So again, it's way down. I mean, we have had week after week after week where we haven't had a murder. I said that the other day in front of the president of Poland. The press was here, and I said, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to announce that Washington, D.C. has not had a death in 4 weeks, a murder. And he looked at me, he goes, is that good or bad? You know, he said, what kind of a place is this? But it's true for years. I mean, every week, essentially, somebody got killed or more than one. And this is a very safe city right now. We don't play games. And, you know, it's interesting. We took these careers out, career criminals. They call them careers. They left the word criminal out. But we took the careers out of here. And they're now brought back to their homes, or they're in jail, or they're in a jail in another country. And hopefully they're not coming back. And we have to maintain it. You can't just leave, and we have to maintain it. We've gotten along fairly well with the mayor. You know, she's getting a party that hates that the city's becoming safe. I mean, they're actually criticizing her because the city's becoming safe. But this is becoming this is right now a very, very safe city. This is considered, this went from the most unsafe city in the country to the safest city in the country. There's no city any safer. That's a pretty big achievement. And we really did it in 12 days. But if you add an extra week to it, that'd be nice. And I mean, you can go out to dinner. Restaurants are booming. You know, the restaurants were dead. They were dead. Even if you got to the restaurant, then somebody would come in and hold you up. You know, they'd hold up the whole restaurant. They go to Uber. Young ladies in the White House, they'd call Uber for protection. They'd run to the car because they were petrified to be from the entrance of their building to the car. Now they feel safe. They're in the car, and then the car gets hijacked while they're in the back of the car. This is what we were living in. We were living in hell. People that work in the White House, every time they see me, young women in particular, say, thank you, sir. And I don't even ask them about what. I know exactly. I made their lives. Now they're living in a beautiful, glamorous place called Washington, D.C. with no crime, and that's the way it should be, okay? This is the death penalty for somebody that kills people in Washington, D.C. I think it's capital. It's a very interesting capital punishment, capital city, right? It's capital, capital, capital. But this is our capital city. We can't allow that to happen. People come in from Iowa to look at the Lincoln Memorial, and they end up getting killed. It doesn't happen anymore. It's not going to happen. And if it does happen, it's the death penalty for the person that did it. And this goes into effect.
Yes, sir.
Right? Pam, is that right?
Yes,
Could you
sir.
speak a little bit about that?
Yes, sir. Not only are we seeking it in Washington, D.C., but all over the country again. And as you saw very recently, we are now moving the inmates who were on death row, who Joe Biden or the autopen commuted their sentences off of death row. We're moving them to supermax facilities where they will be treated like they're on death row for the rest of their lives, President Trump.
Okay, that's a big statement. Thank you very much. Okay. I see some of you shaking your heads very positively. Thank you, Brian. Thank you, fellas.
You said on the campaign trail that
It
you were
said it.
for
Yeah.
the death penalty if anybody, an illegal, killed a U.S. citizen
That's
or a
right.
police officer. So this just reinforces your campaign
Right.
promises.
And most people really like it. And Washington, again, it's going to serve as a beacon because you have to do it. These are bad people. When you look at that guy, the guy that killed the young lady in the train in North Carolina, that he'll be in trial for years, years, years. He'll get a good lawyer somewhere along the line. Somebody will come along, and what he did to that young lady, and she went into that train scared. You know, when she went in, the way she sat down, she was scared to just be there. She just wanted to not pay any attention to anybody, just not be noticed. And she had her throat slit. We don't want that in this country anymore. We're not going to have it in this country anymore. Thank you very much. Next.
I do agree to this, what the president is doing. If you kill an American citizen, or if you kill anybody on this land, you get killed. That's what I proposed last time when you're talking about the killing, the murder of that lady who came as a refugee to seek refuge in the U.S. She escaped death from Ukraine. She came to U.S. to survive, and a lunatic, a bad guy, came up with a knife and stabbed her to death. And you tell me that we leave that, we go in the courts of law, we still have that guy to live. And remember, that guy is a career offender. A career offender. But being freed to come back in society to do more crimes. And you see what happened to that lady the president talked of? You know that lady? Now, if we are all to stop this nonsensical murder, this useless murder of U.S. citizens, U.S. people, anyone on this land, if you murder anyone, police officer, ICE officer, army officer, you attack a ICE facility, you attack any facility, you attack somebody and kill them, the reward, the consequence is you also being killed. Because these people have been with liberty. They believe when I kill, I'll just I go in prison, I'll pay the fine, and get freed. But the one they have killed is gone forever. She will never come back to life. Will never eat again, will never breathe again, will never smile again, will never enjoy this life again. Life can't be bought. If you take a life, your life is taken too. I do support that 100%, and I have no mercy on that, because if someone takes someone's life, life is equal to life. Life. Yes, there they will learn a lesson. They will never kill again. We are going to see the end to these nonsensical murders. You are going to see an end to murders. People going to enjoy this country the way it was before. All right? So the only way to do that, you kill, get killed. No. Tell me what you think in the comment section. But for me, I do support it. Yes, you kill, get killed. And then this one, next, President Trump just signed an executive order making the TikTok deal official. Saving the platform and putting it under majority American control. America will now control the algorithm. Let's have the clip.
Next, sir, we have an executive order on TikTok. From the first days of your administration, you've charged a team from your administration, led by Vice President Vance, with ensuring that we can preserve TikTok as a platform for the 170 million Americans who use it, while ensuring that their data is properly protected as required by law. With this executive order, you will be effectively bringing into effect the agreement that will save TikTok and ensure that it can operate safely and securely.
So this is interesting because I had a very good talk with President Xi. A lot of respect for him. Hopefully he has a lot of respect for me too. And we talked about TikTok and other things, but we talked about TikTok, and he gave us the go-ahead. You know, it's run by American investors and American companies, great ones, great investors, the biggest. You don't get bigger, I don't imagine. And maybe I'll have JD. JD was very much involved and in charge of it. And maybe I'll have you say a few words about the deal. He would report back, and the points of the deal, I think, are great for our country. So, JD, do you want to give it a little talk, please?
Yes, sir. Yeah. So thank you, sir, for your leadership and for your help. We really couldn't have done this without the president actually ushering this deal over the finish line. There was some resistance on the Chinese side, but the fundamental thing that we wanted to accomplish is that we wanted to keep TikTok operating, but we also wanted to make sure that we protected Americans' data privacy as required by law, both because it's the right thing to do, but also because it's a legal requirement of the law that was passed last year by Congress. So we think that we were able to do that. Of course, we're going to keep on working at it. But this deal really does mean that Americans can use TikTok, but actually use it with more confidence than they had in the past, because their data is going to be secure and it's not going to be used as a propaganda weapon against our fellow citizens. We're very excited about it. We appreciate the cooperation of everybody involved, and it's a big day.
And I think I can say that especially the young people, they really wanted this to happen. They did not want to have TikTok close. And I got you know, a little used to TikTok. I used it myself during the campaign, and it was very successful because you know how I did with the young voter. And Charlie helped me a lot too, and he said to me, you should go on TikTok. And it actually had, because we got record votes with the young voter, as you know, for the election. So I was a little bit prejudiced in that way toward TikTok. It was very good and very meaningful, but we have American investors taking it over, running it, highly sophisticated.
Beautiful. I rather have this. TikTok being controlled or being monitored by US, protecting our safety, than banning it, losing it. Oh no, let's go with this one, because when the president was campaigning, promised that he's going to make this country safe again. He's going to see that all Americans live in a safer environment and our data is highly protected. That's what the president is doing. You can't leave your country's data to a third party to control it. How sure what will happen in between there? Now, what the president doing, if they have reached on the deal and they are really making it public, the whole world to know, and the deal is about to, that's fine and wonderful. Then this one, President Trump says the Democrats are crazy. They do not know what they are doing. They want to have the border open so criminals can power in. What they are really asking for is they want to pay for illegal aliens that have come into our country by the millions and get to the voter rolls. Our people do not want that. Okay? And remember, the president promised this. Let's protect the border. Let's eliminate those who are coming in here illegally. We want whoever comes to the US to come here legally, not illegally. Okay? Let's have the clip.
By the way, here we go with this guy. Go ahead, let's go. Let's hear the question.
We're a few days away from the end of the fiscal year and a potential shutdown.
Right.
Is there going to be a government shutdown?
Could be, yeah, because the Democrats are crazed. They don't know what they're doing. They want to have the border opened up so that criminals can pour in. You know, we're doing unbelievable borders closed and people are coming into our country legally. They continue to want to have men and women sports. They continue to want to have transgender for everyone. They want to raise everybody's taxes at a number that's not sustainable. It's the only time in the world I've ever seen a party that wants to raise taxes. You know, I grew up in a family where I'd watch politics, and I always liked it from the time I was very young, but I'd always see politicians say, we will lower your taxes. These guys, they campaign on raising your taxes, but they want to raise taxes very substantially.
The one thing they're concerned about, I mean, look, Republicans have total control of Washington. You guys have control of the House, the Senate, there's you.
Well, when you say control, so we need 60 votes for this, and we have 53 Republicans, so we need 7 Democrats.
And those 7 Democrats and others are asking for an extension of a tax credit on people who get the Affordable Care Act and some other government-backed health care. So are you willing to negotiate on that
what they're
issue?
really asking for is they want to pay for illegal aliens that have come into our country by the millions and get onto the rolls, and they want to pay. And our people don't want to do that. Our people are taxed enough. You know, we just approved the largest tax decrease ever in the history of our country, including the extension of the previous Trump tax cuts. The tax cuts that we just approved, they want to use those tax cuts to give the money to illegal aliens, people that came into our country illegally and that are leaving the country.
So why not-
You know, there's been a self-deportation because of what we've been doing that's been incredible.
I think my taxpayers' money, I would wish to be used for the betterness of this country, for the betterness of the citizens of this country, for the betterness of those people who are here legally, not illegally. And really, how can you pay a wife beater, a criminal, a killer, a sex trafficker? How can you do that? Pay them? Thanking them to do what they are doing? You are thanking them to come here illegally? Oh no, that is impossible. And no one would wish to see that his taxpayer money being given away like that. Yet we have homeless people here. Why are we not putting programs that money that we pay illegal aliens to live on this land, and we put shelters for our people here, the citizens who are here. We put shelters for them to live in a good environment, not on the streets. Why can't we go there rather than sponsoring or paying illegal aliens to come here and stay here? Now, in this one, President Trump has just signed a memorandum launching an all-of-government response to radical left terrorism and those who fund it. The FBI's Joint Terrorism Task Force will be spearheading the operation alongside DHS and the Treasury. Here, let's have this clip.
Lastly, sir, this is a presidential memorandum on countering domestic terrorism and organized political violence. In recent weeks, months, and years, we've seen a tremendous upsurge in some highly visible, but also other acts of domestic terrorism and organized political violence being perpetrated by radical, politically motivated groups all over the country. What this presidential memorandum will do is set off an administration-wide response to that, ranging from the Joint Terrorism Task Forces to other components of the Department of Justice, to the Department of Homeland Security, the Department of Treasury. We're looking at interdicting these groups, preventing them from performing acts of violence, and also looking at sources of organization and funding and support that prop them up and allow them to do the acts that they have been doing.
We're looking at the funders of a lot of these groups, and you know, when you see the signs, and they're all beautiful signs made professionally, these aren't your protesters that make the sign in their basement late in the evening because they really believe it. These are anarchists and agitators, professional anarchists and agitators, and they get hired by wealthy people, some of whom I know, I guess, you know, I probably know them. And you wouldn't know it. You're at dinner with them, everything's nice, and then you find out that they funded millions of dollars to these lunatics. Steve, could you say a couple of words
Yes,
about
Mr.
it?
President. This is a very historic and significant day. This is the first time in American history that there is an all-of-government effort to dismantle left-wing terrorism, to dismantle Antifa, to dismantle the organizations that have been carrying out these acts of political violence and terrorism. What we have seen, if you look at whether it be going back to the riots that started with Black Lives Matter and all the way through to the Antifa riots, the attacks on ICE officers, the doxing campaigns, and now the political assassinations, these are not lone, isolated events. This is part of an organized campaign of radical left terrorism. It is structured, it is sophisticated, it is well-funded, it is well-planned. There is really no parallel like this to anything else in the country right now. There is an entire system of feeder organizations that provide money, resources, weapons, and when they're attacking ICE officers, they're attacking federal buildings, or they're isolating public officials for harassment, doxing, intimidation, and ultimately attempted assassination. It is all carefully planned, executed, and thought through. It is terrorism on our soil. Because of this executive order, Cash and Pam are going to have the tools they need, working with Scott, to take these organizations apart piece by piece. And the central hub of that effort is going to be the Joint Terrorism Task Force, or JTTF, which sits inside the Federal Bureau of Investigation. But for those at home who are worried about terrorism in this country, they need to understand, because of President Trump's strength, because of his vision, because of his leadership, we are now going to use the entire force of the federal government to uproot these organizations root and branch. And again, that's only possible because of President Trump and his leadership.
Thank you, Steve. Cash, please.
Yes, as Stephen was saying, Mr. President, thanks to your leadership, crime is going downward in a tremendous fashion, and that's what we want for every city in America. And the FBI's premier flagship enterprise, the Joint Terrorism Task Force, are honored to lead this initiative with our partners at Treasury and Homeland Security, because our citizens are being attacked by, as Stephen said, organized violence, and it's being paid for, not by them, by other people. So what we are going to do, combining forces as Scott and I have done in these last few months, is follow the money. People and organizations have collected funds and put them out into the streets of America and organized violence across our country. And thanks to your recognition of this and this executive order and the AG's leadership to lead out and prosecute these individuals, we are properly going to chase them down like the domestic terrorists that they are. And our streets and our communities are going to be safer because the JTTF and the FBI and Treasury and DHS and DOJ are going to combine forces like never before to root out this new evil that is perpetrating our criminal activities across our societies. And we are just so thankful for your leadership and recognition of it. It's not easy to do.
Good job. Thank you very much,
Who
Pam.
specifically do you want to target?
What?
Besides Antifa, is there a specific group or person you're targeting with this?
Any organized group.
Any organization?
Any organized group who are committing these crimes, and we're working with the Secretary of Treasury. You know what law enforcement has told us under President Trump's leadership? He's taken the handcuffs off law enforcement.
And the president, among those people, the rich people he's talking of that are under this organized group that are funding them, is this gentleman, George Soros, is among the one that's being ordered to be investigated, and his organization that might be, allegedly might be the one funding this domestic terrorism, is among them, allegedly. And on that, let's first go through this. Justice Department directs probe into George Soros' Open Society Foundations. A senior Justice Department official instructed over half a dozen U.S. attorneys' offices, including those in California, New York, and Washington, D.C., to prepare investigation plans targeting the Open Society Foundations, the philanthropic network funded by billionaires George Soros. The directive from a cashing-in Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche's office cites a Capitol Research Center report alleging the foundation has provided over $80 million since 2016 to groups linked to extremism or terrorism, such as the Palestinian organization Al-Haqqa. This action follows Donald Trump's recent public calls for charges against Soros amid broader DOJ efforts against perceived advisories, though no criminal charges have been filed and the foundations deny funding violence. George Soros, you should remember, this is the guy who was given the Presidential Medal of Freedom by President Joe Biden. And today, FBI just issued this. Domestic terrorists sentenced to more than 19 years in prison for firebombing university police car and attempting to firebomb Oakland Federal Building. You see? Targeting law enforcement and the government facilities is unacceptable, and all of the FBI investigative resources will be used to bring to justice all who engage in such violent actions. The FBI is committed to aggressively investigating every instance of such targeting and to working with the Justice Department to make sure those criminals pay the price of their despicable actions. FBI Director Kash Patel. And remember this, there have been allegations that there is an app that was formed to track down all FBI headquarters, ICE, all law enforcement headquarters, offices to cause harm on them. And all this is being closed into domestic terrorism. And when you are caught, you face the consequences. And here the FBI Director, Kash Patel, says, FBI Dallas and FBI headquarters have been working 24/7 to seize devices, exploit data, and process writings obtained on location and in the subject's personal residence, bedroom. The FBI is committed to providing timely updates as promised. The PAP downloaded a document titled the Dallas County Office of Homeland Security and Emergency Management, containing a list of DHS facilities. He conducted multiple searches of ballistics and the Charlie Cocker's short video between September 23rd to September 24th. Between August 19th and August 24th, he searched the apps that tracked the presence of ICE agents. One of the handwritten notes recovered read, "Hopefully, this will give ICE agent real terror. To think, is there a sniper with AP rounds on that roof?" Further accumulated evidence to this point indicates a high degree of pre-attack planning. The FBI will provide further update when able. I'm just imagining how one would sponsor domestic terrorism to burn down his own country, to burn down his own house. Those who are paid with your taxpayers' money to protect you, and now you are fighting them. You are fighting against them because of your own reasons. You want to burn down your country, not knowing if you sponsor the burning, the terrifying of this country, you are also paying for the burning of your home. Domestic terrorism. Knowing you will just harm others, bro, it will never stop there. It will also come for you. It will burn other places of this country, and again it will end up in your home, your house, and the teller will find you because you sponsored it, not knowing that it will come back to you, but it will come back to you. So let's not sponsor terrorism in our own land, in our own country, in our own homes, because this is the only country we have. So when we tear it down, when we burn it down, where will we go? Okay, that really catches my eye, and I'm saying we should not do this. Now, in this one, President Trump just suggested George Soros and Reid Hoffman, co-founder of LinkedIn, are under investigation for funding left-wing terror groups. Let's have the clip.
Yeah, go ahead. Why don't you defend? Let's see you defend them, Jeff.
No, I'm not defending anyone. I just want, so that we can just explain this in our stories, could you name a couple?
You don't explain it right, though, Jeff. Go ahead, let's go. Maybe let's give you another chance. Go ahead.
Antifa, Soros, what names are we talking about?
Well, Soros is a name certainly that I keep hearing. I don't know, but Soros is a name that I hear. I hear a lot of different names. I hear names of some pretty rich people that are radical left people. Maybe I hear about a guy named Reid Hoffman. Somebody's a pretty rich guy, I guess, and I hear about him. I don't know, maybe could be him, could be a lot of people. We hear the same names, but they're bad, and we're going to find out. And if they are funding these things, they're going to have some problems because they're agitators and they're anarchists. These are anarchists, really bad. Okay, yeah.
They are agitators and they are anarchists. Now, as we are all in that, okay, there is this one. Officials confirm the Dallas ICE shooter used an ICE tracking app to follow ICE agents. That's what we've been talking about, and they used that app. Let's have this clip right here.
Charles, I am the ICE Executive Associate Director for Enforcement and Removal Operations. The attack on ICE's Dallas field office yesterday was tragic, and while our hearts and prayers are with the family of the detainees who were shot, the evidence is clear that this was intended as an assault on ICE personnel who come to work every day to do their job. Violent rhetoric has led to over 1,000% increase in assaults on ICE officers, and it has to stop. In contrast to those who would demonize our men and women, yesterday our brave officers ran back into danger, along with ATF, our partners, to save the detainees while shots were still being fired. Those ICE officers just showed the world who they really are. Law enforcement officers who want the best for our country. That's ICE. Integrity, courage, excellence. They were willing to put their lives on the line to pull detainees out of the transport van to get them to safety. They are heroes, and I hope the media has the integrity to shine a light on this story. Enough is enough with the harmful lies and violent rhetoric. It has to stop. The shooter used the ICE tracking apps. Anyone who creates or distributes these apps that is designed to spot, track, and locate ICE officers are well aware of the dangers that they are exposing to law enforcement. It's a casting call to invite bad actors to attack law enforcement officers. It's no different than giving a hitman the location of their intended target, and this is exactly what we saw happen in Dallas yesterday. The media has been amplifying these apps even as we warned them it would only lead to more attacks on law enforcement. We truly wish we didn't have to say, "I told you so," but here we are. ICE continues to prioritize the safety and security of our personnel detained aliens, and facilities. We will do everything possible to increase security to counter the increased wave of these lethal attacks. Again, we call on those who foment violence and vilify our law enforcement officers to cease the dangerous rhetoric. We also call on law-abiding Americans everywhere to report any suspicious activity.
And this is part of what is called domestic terrorism. Okay, and now today, as we concluding, we are winding up. President Donald J. Trump has just unveiled the presidential wall of fame at the White House, and Joe Biden's portrait is an autopen. Imagine that. Let's have the clip. Look what that's beautiful. Wall of fame. Presidents. Ooh, there we come. Bush, Obama, Trump, and there we go. Autopen for Biden. That's Donald J. Trump. Okay, that's what I want to yap about today, about the press conference that happened in the Oval Office. Let's me in the comment section, let me know what you think about all this, and please do subscribe to the channel. Let's go 100 subscribers. Don't forget to hit the like button. Please give a thumbs up.